Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? As I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted, welcome. It is so good not to be on Zoom. Thank you all for tonight. And before we get into the official part of the evening, I really want to thank Chef D for providing this wonderful space for us. And his fabulous staff for their wonderful service, so thank you very much. And we've got a rather full slate tonight. Usually we just have one group reporting on how they spent our funds. So we've got 4 speaking tonight, so I'm not going to bore you with anything more from me, and we'll get into them in just a second.
All right, so thanks again for everyone coming out. It's good to see some familiar faces, some faces that I haven't seen in a long time. So welcome back. And I'm actually curious, can I get a show of hands to people that have joined but maybe have never been to a live, in-person, 100 men to give a damn meeting? We've got we've got 1, fresh meat. All right, great, welcome, that's awesome. So thanks for coming out, thanks for whoever brought out these new members that haven't come out in person before, and thank you to everyone for showing up again. It's just great to be back. I got a little squirreled away there. What I'm supposed to be doing is telling them how this works.
Yes.
Should I do that?
Sure.
Why don't I do that? All right, so how this works, we get all of you to come out every quarter. We ask that you all bring in $100. We have 3 wonderful charities. Spend 5 minutes up here telling all of us about what they do, the value they bring to our community, and then we take a vote at the end of that. So we'll pass around a little, some voting papers and a pitcher to collect all the votes. We'll tally up the votes. And whichever charity is selected will get all of the donations. So all of the money that you brought tonight will be put in a little box and we can go to them. And then we'll open it up to the rest of our members that couldn't attend in person tonight so that they can send in their donations after the fact.
And speaking of those who aren't here tonight, we need, so that I don't forget by the end of the evening, people to help with collections. It's a thankless job, let me tell you, but I'd rather spread the joy around than me having to do it all. So if anyone wants to kneecap individuals to just get funds for these worthy charities, that would be super.
Now, we did talk about curtailing the violence slightly.
That's true.
Okay.
So, some of the funded charities that we funded since our last meeting in January of 2020. Since then, we have raised $55,000 for local charities, and that's via Zoom. That's crazy. It's awesome that we've been able to do that, and it's thanks to you guys with $100 per. That's fabulous. So up tonight to speak about how they spent the funds, Spectrum, who was, they presented in January of 2020, Send Them Off Smiling, the Child Witness Center, and Adventure for Change. So Spectrum was unable to make it tonight, but how they spent the funds were, they told me how they spent the funds. They spent it by starting a program called Chrysalis, which was basically youth and adults transitioning from basically coming out. They partnered with KW Counseling and used the funds to augment the charges that KW Counseling had to provide counseling for these individuals. So that's what they did. And if I could have Rachel Peets from Peets Bond from Send Them Off Smiling, she would come up, that'd be awesome.
Thank you so much. I am the chair of the board for Send Them Off Smiling. You would have seen Janet it was a year ago, 6 months ago, virtually on Zoom, that clawed her way up to winning that $10,000. For those who are going tonight, good luck. It's very cool when you win. So she told you a little bit about what we do. We provide backpacks to those in need in Waterloo region. I myself think Waterloo region is a very affluent community, but there are pockets of places that really need our help. My husband's a teacher at Preston Public, and he's got a lot of characters there that need some assistance, right? And we like to spread the love. I think Nutrition for Learning is a donation point that we make personally. Of course, we make donations to Send Them Off Smiling. But what we do is provide the necessities for those kids going back to school. We want them to feel like they're walking in the same as everyone else and that there's no difference, right? So we give them a backpack. Usually a pretty cool one like this one. I did grab a really nice one. We send forms out to the families beforehand and we get their preferences. I'm not one that needs a microphone, but I'll take it when I can get it. So inside each bag, we have a full first day outfit for them. We have shoes, we have a lunchbox, we have socks, undies, water bottle, everything that you would want for your first day of school. We got a ruler, we've got a toothbrush, like brand new set of kicks, everything that they can't afford for that first day of school that they need, right? There are other backpack programs that collect backpacks and give them out very generously. I know Family and Children's Services, Waterloo Regional Police runs their campaigns. I'm a big fan of ours because of what we pack in here. We pack confidence. We pack everything that they need to feel like one of them when they come to school, which is really, really important to us. I've been with the charity about 2.5 years. I've been the board chair for about 2 years, and I've only seen good things come back. Because of COVID, we've really run out of funds. Run out is a little bit sticky. We've got some in the bank to make sure that we can pay the rent and keep the lights on, but we have a warehouse that keeps all of our stock there, right? It's about $100, $150 per bag that we put together, but one person on the board is our purchaser. That was Janet that you saw. She's the one getting all the deals off season, so this Roots bag might be $80, we're getting it for $30. So we like to spend your money and stretch it as much as we can. This year we had to knock our numbers down from about 1,100 to, 500. We're maybe going to go to 550 because of the donations from 100 Men That Give a Damn. We added an extra 80, almost 90 bags to what we could give out. We keep a waiting list from the schools of people that need help, but we can't give it. That's where your money went. We went from 500 and we're going to hit almost 600. So that's really, really cool that we got to up our numbers. Because of COVID, our funds went down a little bit. We hope to see that come up again this year, and we're going to be back up to that 1,000, 1,200, right where we were, and we want to keep an incremental increase to our numbers. So we're kind of looking at a 10% increase every year and seeing these bags go out more and more. We've had to adjust our campaign a little bit. Usually we collect the forms in May, we put the bags together and have them for the first day of school. There was no school in 2020 of May, right? We weren't going to class, so we've had to get the forms the very first week of school last year and this year, and we've got people in our warehouse tonight packing bags, delivering them as we get them ready. So kids are getting these bags tomorrow that are ready to go to school. Maybe not for the first day, but next year we're hoping to see a full campaign, and I believe we've received funds from this charity or from your organization twice now. It is the greatest thing that we could ask for, getting these funds. Every penny goes to this backpack or any bag like it. All of our 17 board members are volunteer only. Everyone we've got in the warehouse is volunteer, so all of your money did go to this pretty sweet bag. Like, I would wear this. But yeah, that's what we're about. I apologize I can't stay for the other presenters. I've got a 2-month-old at home that I got to get home to. But we really, really appreciate you guys getting together like this. How cool is it to get together again? Yeah. We all really like this better than Zoom. So we really appreciate your help. We're doing good work. Keep us in mind anytime in the future, or for personal donations or any of your friends that want to get involved. We've got my email set up now, or you can email our general one and get in touch with us. Perfect. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. And next up, we've got Josh Brown from Adventure for Change. He's got some co-presenters.
great. Hey guys, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for letting us come and present. So I'm Josh. I work with Events for Change up in Waterloo. So we're about 20 minutes from here, north end, just above the universities. And I've got my friend here, Stefan, who's kind of one of the guys that comes around a lot at the hub. And Stefan, like, what do you do with Events for Change? Maybe tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, you already said my name. I'll do that part.
Expose it.
I'm Stefan. I'm 16 years old, and I currently go to WCI in Waterloo. And I've been living in Albert Street my whole life, for 16 years now, until 2017. And so far, what I'm doing for A4C is just becoming a leader for many youth, many young kids, and many categories: arts, sports, just chill zone, whatever community needs on there.
Sweet. Very true. So A4C does some community building stuff up in the north end of Waterloo. We work regularly with kind of 3 or 4 neighborhoods up there. And right now we work with kind of moms and dads, and we work with kids, but a big part of our work is with youth. Because I think that's where, for me, that's where all the fun is. That's where we get a good time, but we also get to see a lot of like awesome things happen. So we often do kind of sports programming, we do academic support, we do some mentorship, and just kind of general community things. So, anyways, why we're here is we want to say thank you guys, because in the springtime we came and asked you guys for some money to help create a usable kind of relevant space at our community facility. Through COVID, we were not able to use it very much at all. We have a little office space in the corner of Albert and Behringer up north in Waterloo. It's just north of the campuses, and typically we can have kids, teenagers in there all the time, filling it up, having fun, doing lots of stuff. But we couldn't do that during COVID. So what we asked you guys for help to do is to make it usable and relevant again. Can we set up study desks around that are COVID safe, that kids can come use to study and get back on track with school, a place where we can bring tutors and mentors to use. And I'm here to say thank you, because that's exactly what happened, and that's where we went. But I'm going to get Stefan to kind of share a little bit of his experience using the hub, kind of from the springtime into the summer. So Stefan, we saw you around the hub quite a bit after school doing stuff. Can you share with these folks what you were using the hub for, largely? Around that, sorry.
Okay, so I was very behind in school, and I needed help. I'm never the one to ask for help. So when I went to see the hub, I desperately needed a tutor, and instantly I had one, and I was really struggling with math and history.
Math hard.
And I had no hope for myself of passing these courses. No. But within 2 weeks, you'd say, I really felt like I knew everything in math. I thought I was after, but they really sat down and not only just helped me with math and history, but they taught me a lot of lessons about life. Not just about subjects in school, but on how to be an amazing person and have confidence in yourself. You can do things that you think you can't.
There you go. Power of math. So yeah, Stefan, it's true. We saw Stefan really kind of grow that way. And the power there, we think, and I think you guys all know this too, is the power of relationships, right? And COVID kills that. COVID really hurts that. The relationships are where change happens. That's where life happens, right? So when we lose that, there's a lot of other effects that go on, right? Stefan, when school's on, Stefan's doing well. When school's happening in person, it's going okay. Like when it goes online, shoot, like what happens then, right? So we're really lucky that we got to hang out with Stefan, and over the last few summers, he's stepped up as a leader, as a change maker in his community. We run a youth program now. We've been doing a couple outdoor events, and Stefan's rallied 10, 15 guys regularly to come on out and do that. But the other thing that went on at the hub this year that you guys really helped with was we created a space for mentorship to happen, real, tangible mentorship. So we had over 20 youth connected with different mentors that are university students, that are business owners, that are change makers in their own rights, and they would come by, and the hub was a place that they could meet and bond and forge relationships that create change in the lives of everyone, mentors and the folks getting mentored. So that's what we're about. And I guess the last thing that you guys really helped us do, we were thinking about tutoring, we thought mentorship, and then just creating a space that we could just kind of hang out at, because so rarely in COVID is there a place that you can hang out with, especially if you're a teenager. And it's fun. You would use the hub with your friends sometimes to hang out, and that was good. All the time. And we watched the basketball game a couple times with just a small group. So these things are made possible because you guys gave some money where we could actually make some renovations at the hub, and we could create a space, we could create an atmosphere where that's possible. So like, we are truly appreciative. Jeremy wanted to be here. He's kind of our ED. He has to do interviews for someone that we're hiring this year to kind of help us keep going. But he and I both want to say that we're really grateful, and Stefan and his brother Josh is here watching, and all the 150 plus teenagers that are around our area want to say thank you to you guys. And yeah, if you have any questions or if you ever kind of want to come and get involved or see what we're doing, please, we'd love to have you guys up north on Waterloo. All right? Sounds good?
And last, but surely not least, Ryan Dufton from the Child Witness Center.
Thanks so much for inviting us to come tonight and share a little bit of how we spend the funds that provided to us. So I was just introduced, but again, I'm Ryan from Child Witness Center. He was our executive director, Kim Rodriguez, who spoke in July. Spoke about our agency, again, the Child Witness Center. And just going to middle a little bit. And it was just really exciting for us at the time to be the fortunate recipient of the funds and continue to be really grateful for your support. It's always exciting when the community rallies around an organization like ours and the work that we do, and that's definitely the case, continues to be the case here. So with the $10,937 that we received, which first of all, we were blown away by that amount. Definitely exceeded our expectations. Can't say thank you enough. So with that money, we used about half of it is going towards our Child Witness program. Basically, that program, we have two main programs. Not to sound like we have a whole bunch or anything, but our Child Witness program, it's about supporting children and youth who have witnessed or experienced abuse or crime. So we serve in the Waterloo and Wellington County areas. And so obviously young people are going through really tough situations, often very dark, difficult, and we walk with them through, our caseworkers walk with them through the criminal justice process. So a time that is extremely difficult for most adults to go to court and all that ring and roll, and you're helping, just imagine being a minor and going through all that. So part of that support, one of the neat things is, and relatively new, is we have a accredited facility dog, and it's being shown and proven that it just seems to make a tremendous difference that having a dog at client meetings, even going to court, sometimes called the court dog, it really helps with these young people and their nerves and all the stress and anxiety involved. So that kind of segues into the second half of how we use your funds. And that's, so our dog's name is Monet, and this here is a project. 200 of these little stuffed mini Monets have been ordered, and it's unfortunately let me say it this way. Part of this item is there's a vest that it's like a purple vest, kind of a logo on it. And why that's key is, as an accredited facility dog, incredibly well trained, she wears this purple vest at all times when she's on duty. So it's very customized for us. And this item is really, it's much more than a cute toy. Again, research has shown that, so they call this a transitional object, and not only is it comfortable, safe, but it's something that's predictable. During a time that's very unpredictable. A lot is out of the youth, out of the child's control, went through this whole crazy court process. We're often, I won't say often, but it can be the case that even the outcome is not favorable. So it's just a difficult time, but if there's something that's positive out of this horrific experience, it's maybe that they met on and then they get to take away one of these neat little stuffed items. So that's where the money is going, and again, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the support of our community as a nonprofit. And so again, just a huge thank you so much on behalf of our organization.
Thank you, Ryan. Don't forget to take your little bonnet down. And I'm going to need half my notes there.
I did bring a dozen copies of our most recent annual report as well, one draft copy, and it's available on our website if they run it.
Thank you, Ryan. Love that the little Monet is not just a toy, but more of an emotional anchor. That's wonderful.
Very good. Well, thank you all for those presentations. And this is what we fund, $100 at a time. And moving Kitchener-Waterloo forward and Cambridge forward in, well, our little ways and bigger ways. Now,
should we remind them about nominations?
yeah.
Why not? If you want to hear more from wonderful charities like these, the four we just heard from, three we're about to hear from, we need your help to tell us which charities that you know about, that you've heard about, and maybe you just drove by, you saw their sign, you're like, that sounds like a cool charity, I'd like to see them get funded. We need you to speak up and tell us so that we can get them up here and give them a chance to share their story with all of us. So please take the time.
You can fill the ballot with one before you go, so we have that information ahead of time. That would be great.
Perfect. We have ballots right here. Jeff will hound you if he doesn't see you pick up a piece of paper. He will tackle you in the parking lot. Make sure you fill in the nomination. Thank you.
He'll do it. So, now to our three presentations for the charities that we can potentially fund. And remember as well that there's different ways to support these charities rather than just through being funded by the group. There's volunteers, there's donations in kind, there's different ways. So with that in mind, we'll go with the first one, which is Threshold Homes and Support, Linda Gregorio.
I don't typically need a mic either, given the voice, radio DJ. Not really, but I want to first, before I get into thresholds, the recipients that won before, the people that have donated. I know with Child Witness Center, for an example, I sponsor a table at your pancake lunch regularly, so great cause. I didn't know anything about the Waterloo crew. I wish I was that cool and that young. I'd love to know more and help, but I do really want to kind of jump off there when we talked about partnerships and its relationships and forging change. And certainly sent them off smiling. I donated that. Backpack was cool. Broke my back horse riding. Don't really use a backpack anymore. But that lands us that there is so much need in our community. And myself and Emily's here, pitching for some of the dollars that you have. For me, I'm here with Thresholds Homes and Supports, and on behalf of our executive director, who couldn't be here, Lisa, and the entire team, really, both those in the administrative offices and on the street. What we do is we've been around for 42 years, kind of the best kept secret, if you will, to some degree. We're providing housing and programmatic support around housing for those that have mental health issues and sometimes addictions, because those sometimes go concurrent. We have 15 homes that we're supporting and funding, and it could be from congregate settings where we have people living together that have that requirement. It could be from respite services where mental health individuals have to go for a weekend. They need to kind of get away from their space where there's a safe space provided for them. In the work that we're doing in the programmatic support, we have nursing staff, RPNs, psychiatrists. We're worrying about what people's meds are, what their mental health state is, doing everything we can to support the individual holistically. But certainly, we talk about COVID and how relationships are impacted because we're at home and we're not getting out. But what about when you don't have a home? And so when you're told, hey, stay home, quarantine, isolate, like where is home? And so for Thresholds Home and Support, our 4 main areas of funding is from the ministry, from Ontario Health, from some rent subsidies, because in some of the properties we have, there are some marginal rent subsidies that come back. And in that 4th category, it really is from organizations like this. It's from applying for grants. It's topping up that we serve 837 people right now. We had served about 1,200, but in COVID, you kind of start to lose a lot of people that don't want to kind of be forthcoming. There are not as many people on the street. We have our staff out in community. We're servicing that number of people, and in terms of face-to-face meetings, for example, either on the street or in the homes, 28,000. We're keeping people. The sad news is that the wait lists are double, triple that, and you can be on a wait list for up to 7 years because you're kind of in and out and you're getting missed. So if you can imagine all of us, right, we're all busy people, and I'm sure that at one point in your day you're like, oh, you know what, I should check in with so-and-so. I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. That's what our team, our entire staff does, is check in on the so-and-sos that you normally would see on the street. And then probably a lot of us will drive by and say, I'm not going to give you money because it's going to end up for pot or dope or hard drugs. But at the end of the day, that's a personal choice, but we certainly could appreciate the money coming our way so that we can put programmatic support in place and try to forge those relationships that move the needle to make the kind of change that we need to see. And they're concurrent, so it's not all addiction. So there we have a lot of just straight up mental health, if you will, where there isn't an addiction component. But that's what we do in Waterloo region in Guelph, Wellington. We have actually advanced and trying to get additional grant, and we're doing a combined effort with the region and ministry. We're about to break ground on a new facility and also extend 4 additional beds. So we're looking to extend 25 beds, but we could use hundreds of beds. On average, it's $800 a day to house someone, and if you have them in the hospital, it's $1,800. And that doesn't include what it would cost us when they're in and out of jail. And I'll leave you with one story of someone who is in our community. His name is Don, and Don was abused, was in and out of his home, trying not to be in a home that wasn't really supportive of him, trying to be out in community while he was in a youth. Didn't really have the mentorship opportunities back then and the safe hubs to go to. Got into drugs, was in and out of the criminal system, suffered continuous mental health, and we've had him on board. He's 30 years clean. He lives in one of our communities, a long-timer, networks with the neighbors, tells his story, is really pleasant, and for me it's a reminder that your past doesn't equal your future, but it sure made it easier if you have opportunity and support, and in our case that's funds. So appreciate your time, appreciate you parting with your wallet in whatever case that you choose, because that's how we make the world go around, right? Share the love, share the money, and thanks for sharing your time.
Thank you, Linda.
I thought we were going lower on the aggression. All right.
Trust me, that was low.
Okay.
Wrap this up quickly.
I'm ready.
So do we have some questions from our audience? This is so nice that I don't actually have to wait for questions to come in the chat. So much easier to spot ahead. Take it away, Brett.
So if you were successful in meeting the organization, how would you be using?
So we're going to be using the money in the openings of the beds that we're already taking a look at doing, and increasing the staffing with our RNs. Right now with COVID, you can imagine it's getting out to the people that are in the homes. So it's increasing bed count, it's increasing the staff on the medical side, and it's also in moving toward, our whole region is moving towards some data, consolidated data and information from an IT standpoint, and getting an understanding of who is out there and how can we support those people, and having some technology projects that can really help us kind of move the needle. But it definitely is on the street, in the homes, with real people, and getting those people as much help as we can and move them off the streets and into homes that we have. And then our administrative side to do whatever we can to bring our operating costs down, because we're at a fixed percentage, and the more we can bring that cost down by having technology needs in some ways where we can do continuous improvement, helps us put more of that money to the streets.
One question that I was wondering, in terms of demographics, what do the people look like that you're helping on average? If there is an average?
Oh my goodness, what do they look like? They look like a variety of the people that you know. They're from 20s to 30s to 50s to 60s, mental health issues, perhaps it's schizophrenia. I can give a story in terms of a personal experience. I have a close colleague of mine. His brother was actually served by Thresholds, which is how I actually got introduced to it. He has been in and out. He's been in that home. He had schizophrenia, just maintaining his meds. He had a girlfriend. The girlfriend was an alcoholic. They lived in a home, but having somebody going into that home, having regular touch points multiple times a day. So they're your friends and they're your neighbors. And if you think about it, in terms of how I learned about Threshold, it was a CEO in town, and it was his brother who was using the service. And he had some great feedback on what we were doing well, and then some areas on where we could improve. And as a consultant and somebody who gives about 25% of my time back to community at no cost, that's how I ended up with Thresholds.
Excellent. The consistency is, I can speak to that even just from my morning run. I know that there are certain houses that I go by, and there's going to be a Thresholds van out front at a certain time, every day, or every couple of days.
Yeah, and for some, our staff's the only point of contact that they might have. They're health professionals. They might, get well enough to befriend somebody, and that's an ever-changing thing. So we're trying to create supportive communities that are where they are. If anyone does any kind of lean manufacturing, they say go together, go to where the problem is. That's what our organization has to keep doing, walking toward it instead of looking away from it.
Yes.
So in addition to financial work for operating services that help, not just moving, but moving.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for that. So we have a bunch of different programs. One of the programs we have is an extraordinary needs program. And in that extraordinary needs, as acuity is going up, so the mental health of people is becoming more concurrent, it's becoming more complex. In every one of our programs, the idea is to just move you further along. And so there are many who come into congregate settings, and then we move them out into community. We're working with social housing, and some of them are actually in their own apartments, and we go visit them in their own apartments. So in terms of us, there are units that we're landlords on, and we have people in. There are others that are community housing where we're not the landlord, but we're going into those. And then as we move them into their own homes, we still want to have continuity of support so that the care is continuous and it's holistic and integrated. But thank you for asking for that. I didn't get into all of the programming we do, but I appreciate the question.
Any final questions before we let Linda sit down? Yes.
What's your annual budget for your program?
So our overall general budget that we play with is right now at $15 million. And if you do math on the 800, on average per person, person. A bulk of that comes from the ministry, so that's fixed, and now with this latest election, we weren't even sure how much of that was going to come. The next big chunk is for Ontario Health. And then we're getting into any rent subsidies, so as we're moving people along, if they are getting some kind of support from the government, we are getting marginalized lower rents. But you can imagine now, even the landlords that these people are in, landlords are saying, you know what, I'd rather have a different tenant in there and get more rent. So housing is already tight to begin with, and now with the pricing of the real estate market, it's gone, even crazier. So we're really actively looking at partnering with those landlords. So that's the third stream of that 15. But we really rely on that rent and the donations and all of that top up to really strengthen our programs. Otherwise, they'd be bare bones programs with bare bones staffing and not as many touch points in any given day. Sometimes the touch points go down to, once a week, and I'm sure if you imagined yourself unwell on your worst day, once a week or twice a week visit isn't enough. So it sounds like a big number, and but when you break it down on the per need and what it costs to launch new programs, it's really not.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much. And up next, Emily Dick from In Her Shoes.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having us. I have a bunch of notes written, but I'm not really good with notes. I'd rather talk a little bit. It'll just guide me, okay? So if I look, then I'm just trying to remember where I was. So the timing of this opportunity is absolutely perfect for In Her Shoes. Just days before the call came in from William and speaking to our manager, we started thinking of all of the things that we would be able to do with them. So In Her Shoes is a social enterprise of the YW Kitchener-Waterloo. That's the YW, not the YMCA, the YWCA. That has been in our community for 115 years. And so we're the social enterprise for the YW. What does that mean? Well, let me tell you. We started our program in 2018, and basically we started as a pilot project to train women facing barriers to employment and to teach them how to become more financially stable on creating a side hustle, so an online business, or getting meaningful employment and having a quality retail experience. What is that experience? Well, it is our Bricks and Clicks store that sells donated women's accessories from our community. Now I can hear you saying, what's Bricks and Clicks, right? Yes? No? Yes? Okay, good. It's a term that I don't know where it came from, but it basically means that we have a physical store and we also have an online store. And we were one of the first thrift stores in the Waterloo region to actually sell our products online. So our accessories are donated to us from the people in the community, and we resell them in our store. We had 2 people working when we first started, both part-time and not even equaling a full-time position between the 2 of us. I was one of the 2. In 2019, we had the opportunity of a lifetime. We got federal funding for our training programs to diversify and increase into one program being the women's program, which is specifically for newcomers to Canada and teaching them employment and entrepreneurship skills, as well as a youth program that is a paid 18-week training program. And the cool thing is that they all use our store as the foundation for that experience, to be able to get a retail experience in Canada, for one, or just a steady job for 18 weeks. And in 2021, unfortunately, we were able to add 2 other programs, One being a fast-track training in data analytics, so a second career, along with McMaster University. That one is actually in week 4. It's a new program. And we have our youth employment training program that is starting on Monday. We're not ready for it yet, but we will be by Monday. Is starting, it's an express program, so it's a condensed version of our current youth training program. In 2020, as you know, we were all affected by the pandemic, but I'm very proud to say that we didn't miss a day of programming. We didn't miss a day of being online. Our store had to close, of course, and that's what we're going to pitch to you about where the funds would actually go. Our social enterprise is in its 4th year of training programs and continues to support some of Waterloo Region's most vulnerable women and gender diverse people by helping them gain employment or starting a business, and then being less reliant on social services, much like some of the previous presenters as well. In 2020, we won the Records Reader's Choice Diamond Award as an employment agency, and this year we were nominated in 5 different categories, and those results are still pending. They haven't released those yet. So our programs don't simply provide job placements for these women and youth. Rather, they impart them with meaningful employment, life skills that facilitate their ability to build a career in business. We provide a foundation of mental health care, life skills, financial literacy, digital literacy, and job readiness that allows them to find the employment and re-enter their education system and grow in their careers. And we give them a safe space and the time to be able to do that for themselves and for creating their future. So, is my 5 minutes up?
It's running out quickly.
Okay. What are we going to use the money for? We receive a lot of federal funding for our training programs. Unfortunately, they're all hinged on the social enterprise concept, which is kind of our unique selling point. We don't have funding for our store. We're about to reopen our store. We're moving as well. And so we're looking to be able to provide a professional quality store experience to be able to provide for our training programs, if that makes sense. So we always do state-of-the-art technology, so we're looking for some upgrades for our inventory systems. We're looking for some moving costs. And we need some marketing money too, because who doesn't need marketing money for a store? So we also just calculated in preparation for this that we counted our number of hours per day that we offer training. So we now have 8 full-time staff. So that's a big growth in a short period of time. And we provide 27 hours of training in a day. 27. Yeah, and there's only 24. We have 42 participants as of Monday in our store, and we want our store to be able to properly support our training programs. And so that's why we're here today.
All right. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
It's towards the end, but I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I missed some of the notes there, but we can follow up later.
You know, I'm sure we'll have some great questions here, settled in, looking for some hands, that might help you elaborate a bit further. We got one with Mike in the back.
So you're so basically the more you grow the store and sales of the store set, the more you can grow the programs and
Yeah, that's the premise and the hope, because we want the store. Yeah, we want the store to be able to support the training programs. And it's a cool little store. Sorry.
Thank you.
Great question, because we're in the process of moving, and the lease is being negotiated this weekend. So I'm hoping it's going to be on King Street. I'm not going to say the the actual location yet. We were at the emergency shelter that is run by the YW, but our space that we're using there is being taken over for the winter emergency shelter by the region, and so we had to move out, and so we're actually getting a proper storefront on King Street. Fingers crossed. I'll let you know on Monday.
Okay, that sounds like the bricks part of Bricks and Clicks. Why don't you tell people online where they can find you, your digital store?
Am I online? So our website is inforshoesYW.com. You can also find information on the YW website. We are all over social media all the time, talking about our participants, talking about products. Our whole website is managed by the participants in our youth program and some of the newcomer women as well, to give them the digital literacy and the experience of running an online store and see if that's actually something that they want to do. So that is a great question. We're all over online.
Awesome. Any other questions from our audience? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Emily.
Thank you.
And up next, we've got Chris Martin from the Male Allies Program for the Sexual Assault Support Center.
Thank you very much.
When does my time start?
Right away.
We're just diving right in.
Good evening. I do have notes and I do need to stick with them, otherwise I will ramble way beyond 5 minutes. So my name is Chris Martin and I am the Workplace Equity Educator in the Male Allies Program at the Sexual Assault Support Center of Waterloo Region. And it really is my great privilege to be here, not only among the 100 men who give a damn, but also among other giants in the community that I feel so deeply for and care about so much, because the work that you folks do is truly phenomenal. So thank you for being here. Our Executive Director, Sarah Castleman, did speak to you folks a couple of years ago, and she shared with you the different things that we do on the counseling side of our agency. She shared with you how our counselors walk beside survivors every day. She shared a little bit about Diane's story. She shared that our center is a 24/7, 365 support line that has run uninterrupted since 1989, entirely run by volunteers. She shared with you that we have an anti-human trafficking program because, unfortunately, it works with children as low as age 12, given that age 12 to 14 is the average age of entry into human trafficking for the purpose of sexual exploitation. But tonight I want to talk about our Male Allies program and the work that we do. Almost 15 years ago, our center designed this program because there were a lot of men who wanted to help, but they maybe didn't know the avenue of how to help. That's what men do, isn't it? We're taught to be helpers and we want to always be pitching in. 100 men who give a damn plus, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that because we recognize right away that while the majority of gender-based violence was caused by men, the majority of men do not commit gender-based violence. A very important distinction. And it's likely for some pitchers speaking to an audience of just men might be a unique experience. But this is actually my zone. This is where I thrive. This is the work that I do. I train workplaces through our Raise the Bar program. I talk to men every day, and I train youth on their way to professional athletics, whether it's at the local universities or whether it's on their way to OHL teams and beyond. Changing my notes. And I went too far. This is just slightly embarrassing. So what I want to say is, do you know what I've learned in all that talking to men? Our Male Allies program is truly needed now more than ever, you see. We offer an alternative narrative of masculinity. We don't believe masculinity is inherently bad. We actually believe it's quite beautiful. But it has created a system not without its problems. Hence the term some of you folks may be familiar with, toxic masculinity. And there are problems with toxic masculinity, aren't there, in our society? I see them every day. When I speak with men and boys, when they say things like, I wish all men had access to a space like this. A space where we can just be ourselves and talk about the issues we have. The issues we were never taught to unpack, examine, and move beyond. About skills and healthy relationships, about healthy coping mechanisms to deal with stress, frustration, jealousy, and anger. I see the problems that our narrative of masculinity has when it tells us that being a man means either showing anger or no emotion at all. Right? Be a man, cowboy up, suck it up, don't cry. That creates issues. And I see these issues when men look me in the eyes after knowing me for less than an hour, and they open up in ways that they never thought were even possible. Chris, I'm struggling. Chris, my best friend, killed himself last week, and I don't know where to turn. Chris, when I was in high school, my girlfriend raped me, and no one believed me because they said that men can't experience sexual violence, men can't be assaulted, and we know that's untrue. We counter that version of masculinity. Our version says that you don't have to perform masculinity if it's not for you. You don't have to be tough and stoic all the time. It means being strong enough to push aside our pride, doesn't it? Lead with humility, lead with humbleness, care for other men. And it hurts to know that some of the things that I was taught as a young survivor of gender-based violence are very much still around today and still need to be countered, still need funding. It hurts when I read that 4 out of every 5 suicides in Canada are men. It hurts me when I walk down the street and I see a woman cross to the other side because the sun's setting, and while the odds are I'm not in danger, everyone in this room knows that she can't afford to take that chance. And it's a cycle. But it's a cycle that you and me and we as men can break, have to break. It is crucial. And it starts right now with this 5-minute conversation. It starts right now when I say that your investment of $10,000, $5,000 to supporting survivors of all genders, and $5,000 to ensure that our men's group, which supports hundreds of men per year in our community, young and old, can continue to be the one safe space where men can be human. Where men and boys can practice being men and boys without the anger, the rage, and all the other harmful stuff that we're taught that we have to be men. Tonight I ask you all to stand beside all survivors of gender-based violence in our community. I want men to know that other men do care, beyond the 100 men who give a damn. I want men to have access to learn about these things. And if you invest in our Male Allies program tonight, that is what you are investing in. A healthy community for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Everyone's been very quiet, waiting for the question. Contemplation's good. Got a question in the back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic question. I apologize that I didn't have more time to get into the programming. So it could be anything from running a 6-month program in schools where we specifically work with the youth who their teachers, their counselors, etc. maybe feel that these youth are struggling and falling behind. It could be running men's groups where people of all ages come to unpack the anger that they're going through. I can share stories about how I'm talking to men who are going through divorce and they don't know how to talk to their other guy friends about it. We unpack that stuff. Right, I do this exercise and we don't have time to do it tonight, but very briefly I basically say, who in here right now, if while I'm talking, if you got a phone call from a man in your life and they were crying and they were like, man, I need you right now. Who in here right now, by show of hands, would get up and leave and be like, I'm there for you? Every single one of you. But then I ask this follow-up question, and this is where we really get into it. I say, now how many of you know that every man in your life that you care about knows that they could call you crying, and you wouldn't shame them, you wouldn't judge them, you wouldn't put them down, you wouldn't think that it's feminine to have those emotions? And when I ask that question, I get a lot fewer hands. And I say it's because we, as men, are never given the chance to talk about this stuff. And that's what we do in our program. We spend our entire lives as men keeping those emotions inside, being the tough, stoic rock in the storm. And we never sit back and say, actually, you know what? I am hurting. I am struggling. And we talk about that in our programs. And I can tell you, the things that I shared, my friend killed himself last week, I was assaulted, etc. These are one-offs. This is every single time. This is every single day. Men are hurting. And that's what we do in our program. We talk about that. And we also offer alternative narratives to, you don't have to be the aggressive man shown in the movies. When your intimate partner says no, actually you're not supposed to push past that. Here's what consent looks like in a healthy relationship. It involves sex and pleasure and fun times. And when you struggle, you're allowed to struggle. We give that permission. I hope that sums it up for you.
You mentioned support programs. Is this a drop-in thing? Is there a sign-up sheet? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and we do both. So we do offer drop-ins, and you could get anywhere from 2 to 50 people show up, and then we also offer more concrete learning spaces, right? Where we say, we send it out to the community, we say sign up, and then people can show up, and you really get to build a rapport with people over the course. And the one thing I like most about it is the ages that show up, you never know. Right? And I love it because I have a personal gripe against ageism. I hate, you can't teach a dog old tricks. I think that that's not true. And the men that show up in my groups every week, they prove that to be untrue.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question as well. So right now we have about 30 staff, and they are either all working directly with survivors of sexual violence, or we have a public education team of 5 people that does public education, such as running groups that would look somewhat similar to these, but considerably more interactive.
Any final questions for Chris? All right.
Okay, thank you so
Chris.
much.
So now comes the time for voting. You all have your slips? Choice number 1, thresholds, homes, and supports. Number 2, in her shoes. And number 3, Male Allies Program for Sexual Assault Support Center. Make your mark now.
All right, for those of you watching online, we're just going to send the picture around, catch everyone's votes, and we'll be right back with those of you watching shortly. Oh, we need a pen. We had some there. If you are looking for a pen, it looks like we've got some at the registration desk. Yeah.
Everybody have their thing?
Okay, we have a result.
Do we need a drum roll?
Sure.
Someone want to do a drum roll for us? There we go. Appreciate the enthusiasm. Thank you.
Now, before wait.
We got carried away.
Adventure for Change was right in there. Before we announce who is being funded this quarter, I'm going to underline, reiterate, restate, whatever. There's other ways to support these guys. Remember that. If the group that you chose, that you made your mark on, isn't funded, they still need help. All of them. But it comes down to the vote, and the vote this week, or this month, this quarter, came to the Male Allies program. So there you go.
Holy smokes. And there's a ceremonial box.
There's a ceremonial box. You don't get to keep it.
So I guess this is where I'm supposed to say a few words, and I guess the words that I have are, it really honestly feels like I'm standing next to giants. When I come to a room like this, and like I said, I speak to men all the time. 100 men who give a damn, like that speaks to my soul. And I think that I would love to hear more from you folks too about our programming. And if you have any interest at all, please feel free to reach out, because community leaders like you guys, that's the future, and that's how we move forward. And with this funding, the amount of support and help that you guys are going to, that you just funded is astonishing. I don't even know how to do it.
I do believe you found some converts.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you all. It honestly, like, this is awesome.
So that brings our evening to a close. Again, please help out these folks as much as you can, in any way that you can. We need nominations. What else?
Well, we of course want to thank our sponsors. So
Yes.
thank you to Deer Ridge and thank you to Chef B
Thank you very much, Chef.
for hosting us. Thank you to Chef D for stuffing us with delicious pizza.
Yes.
Woodfire.
And providing a fabulous bar. Wasn't the same just being in front of my computer and drinking.
Not the same. You can do that anyway.
That just sounds like a Tuesday to me. But yes, thank you very much. And anything else?
Thanks for coming out. Oh my God, it's such a relief, because when we put this together, our first in-person meeting in forever, we didn't know how many people were going to show up. And it's lovely to see this much participation. In fact, I think we have more people here today than at any of our virtual broadcasts over the past 18 months.
Yes.
So this is really heartening, because it tells me that 100 Men was just taking a bit of a lull through a pandemic. And that seems reasonable. And it sounds like we have room to keep growing as things improve for all of us. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for showing your commitment. That means a lot. And what you can do to show it even further is find a friend and drag them out here next time as well.
Exactly.
And we will be back here
In 3 months, so in January, and the date has not been firmed up yet. That'll depend on Chef D and this facility. So,
roughly sometime January.
yes.
Yeah,
And that's about it.
I think that's it.
One other thing that has nothing to do with 100 Men, but I have a project that I'm doing for Christmas for the House of Friendship. If any business owners or just sort of generally giving individuals want to stick around afterwards, I'd like to pick your brain and perhaps get your support. So,
I think we should give them a little teaser about what this actually is.
okay. I have a lot of Christmas music. Tons of Christmas music. Last year I did a 25-hour radiothon. This year I'm doing the same thing, but I've got to get the word out more, because my goal is providing Christmas meals for 100 families, whereas I only provided for 46 families last year. So that's kind of where my head is at. That's what I'm going to be talking to you about if you do stick around, and don't feel obligated at all. It's just, this is my thing, and I'm looking for assistance.
Wonderful. So this 25 hours of Christmas music, no repeats?
No repeats.
We're not just listening to Jingle Bells for 25 hours.
Well, no, there'll be different versions of Jingle Bells. But, yeah, no repeats of songs, and it's different stuff. Like, I've got over 200 albums, over 200 CDs. I've got digital coming out of my whatever. And so, how else can I use it if not to do a radiothon? So there you go.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
And thank you again for coming out, and have a great evening.
Take care and thanks a lot.
Look forward to seeing you again.